Yes, welcome to the No State Project live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. It is episode 96 of the commercial-free edition of the No State Project, what we do every Wednesday from 3 to 5 Mountain Standard Time. And I probably appreciate everyone tuning in as people start to file in. Again, being live on, what day is it today? It is the 23rd of January 2019. Whether it's about anarchy, government abuse, getting to a voluntary society, or defending yourself in court, remember we have the role playing tomorrow. We've been fairly consistent now. Same time as this, but not. I don't stream that. So we'll do that 3 to 5, 4 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. I cannot speak today. 4 to 5 Mountain Standard Time. Same time as this broadcast, but we do it tomorrow on Thursday. If you're interested in that, please contact me at Frank Rizzo 3, and we can do that. So Tom's saying he has 7 questions on point. Well, we'll see if we can stick on point, then just bear with me for a second. I guess there are a few subjects that, even for this broadcast, this show, that just brings out the nastiness. Someone actually saying and putting a post here, and I don't think that it was sarcastic, but thank God for President Trump. That's where we are. Some people actually saying thank God for Donald Trump. So Michael Santucci sounds like a paisan over here, saying favorite Metallica song, And Justice for All? Seriously? Seriously? Don't you listen to the show? I've mentioned many times on the show my favorite Metallica song, which is kind of tough. But knowing me, it's going to be something from the first 3 albums. You gotta have Cliff Burton on there. So Justice, yeah, not so much. Justice had some great songs. So Diaz Eve, that blackened, holy crap. But yeah, Cliff Burton, Metallica was on their way down after Cliff unfortunately died. But Trapped Under Ice. The only way that song could have been better is if John Bush had joined Metallica when he was asked, and John Bush sang it. But you don't get much better than Trapped Under Ice. Damage Incorporated? Yeah, that Trapped Under Ice definitely takes it for me. So yeah, we get the important stuff out of the way. My favorite Metallica song. But Sanitarium is a great song, but it's nowhere near the top. The best. It's not even the best song on that album, Master of Puppets. Sanitarium doesn't come close to Damage Incorporated. For heaven's sakes, Orion is on Master of Puppets. So Sanitarium is, yeah, that it's way down the list there. Sanitarium, no. Anyway, I've been accused of all sorts of things since the last show. Some really nasty comments, which I kind of get used to that, but after I discussed things last week, I'm accused of all sorts of things. And even the stupid one again, coming out again about the G, that I must be some kind of Illuminati-controlled resistance because I have this G here, which, let me dispel this myth for the 100th time again. This G, if you see that G, it is, it's my wife's first initial. She's been on the show before, so there's flowers on it. So I don't know if anybody wants to zoom in on that, but Yeah, you can see here, even in the webcam, you can clearly see there are flowers on it. So, yeah. G is for, gosh, do better research, guys. Yeah, this all looks like I'm controlled opposition, where I can't go 1 month or even just a few shows without a major tech issue. Yeah, I know, idiots like, yeah, I know. All right, just one thing about what the things I said last week. I was quoting the man himself, you know, Captain Bonespur. So I'm not saying that the government's honest, they're a criminal organization, and that the media it does not engage in very bad journalism. Of course they do. They do. But when you hear actual statements of the man himself, kind of tough to argue with and say it's fake news when all you're doing is comparing. That's why it's a really great thing on Reddit where Trump criticizes Trump. And it is fantastic. So he has from a number of years ago with Obama saying if there's a government shutdown, the president owns it. It's the president's fault, lack of leadership. Sad! So, and he also said he would own it. He said it recently. He said he would own it. And of course, all he can do is blame those libtards. You gotta have a boogeyman, and the boogeyman is always going to be the other party. The Republicans are always saying it's the libtards. The Democrats are always saying it's the Republicans. It's okay. So yeah, if somebody has an issue with something I mentioned that was not factually accurate, cite it. Don't just, shout over the YouTube comments there. Cite a particular statement of fact that I made where I got my facts wrong, and that's something we can have a discussion about. But just telling me I'm an idiot and I'm controlled opposition, yeah, not so much. That's not going to do it. So, all right, we're gonna get to. All right, he's gonna try to say. Well, I guess he's having a problem staying on the line there, but we'll get back to Tom. We have right now we have area code 248. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from? I'm thinking this is Michigan. Area code 248. Okay, we're gonna mute them back up, and we're gonna go back to Tom. Maybe we got Tom. Tom, we got you here.
I hear you.
I don't know. Hear me? Yeah, I got you. I don't know what happens to this machine.
It's all right. You're an amateur. It's cool.
Hey! Just kidding. Well, technically that's true. I don't get paid to do radio like some
right on, brother.
Self-proclaimed anarchists.
Right on. All right. Well, let's get to it. I have some issues I want to discuss. We only have a short period of time, and the first thing I wanted to ask is how is the role playing going? I haven't listened to any of it. You're doing it in Discord. That's fine. How is it panning out? Are you achieving anything? Do you see any progress?
Well, we've got a couple of people that were very, very new. So the last couple times that I did it, and like last time, like last week when we did it, we were covering a lot of the basics. And so we did some role playing to just get them to understand the basics of it. So I think I saw they were there for momentarily. So I believe he's going to give us he's calling to give us a report. So we'll see after, what he has to say, and we can maybe determine whether there's been some fruit.
All right, great. And you're right. The bottom line is before a role play can be worth doing, there's a lot of ground to cover. So you're right, and you're probably doing a lot of that stuff. I know, Robbie's one of the moderators, and Joe, which that's one of the reasons I haven't joined. When you're cut off with a point you want to make, again, I love Robbie. Joe's not my best friend, but I understand. I understand you need to control it, blah, 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 and you need to break the barriers down first. So that was one of my. We've achieved this. Okay, answered. I have another question.
Real quick, Tom.
Now,
but I don't.
yeah.
Just you so people know what you're talking about. What's the barrier that you're talking about?
Well, the barrier that I see, if I'm getting this correctly, the reason I won't join Discord is because when they're, and I totally understand the idea of a moderator, because you can't have everyone shouting in during a role play. But the moderators you've chosen do not allow any counterpoints. As in my notes, okay, you have been adamant in your books and many, many, many of your shows about achieving damage control, because there is no winning. The moment the status attack begins at your window as the cop pulls you over, you've already lost. And everyone seems to be on board with going, full out, balls out to principles, which can cost you jail time and a lot of money. I prefer damage control and costing the state as much money as possible without going to jail and breaking my own bank.
Okay, well, that's something that is routinely spoken about.
I don't. Okay, well, I haven't participated in any of those, so I can't comment on that. But it seemed to be, in the Skype chats and where I'm at now, because I won't go to Discord, that was slammed down a lot. I am about damage control, achieving the least damage to ourselves as possible, using the most time of the court as possible to educate as many people as possible and slow them down, stop this tyrant, this stuff, and that's what I'm about.
Yeah. And I'm most people I'm sure would agree and want to do the same thing. I mean, I've been pounding that point for, let's just say, a long time. Yeah,
forever. Yet again, every time I bring up damage control, I'm insulted, and I'm not for principle. It's just pay them and blah blah blah. Well, and I want to bring one other thing up, and then you can go on to another caller.
You had 6 other points.
Okay, go ahead.
You had 6 other points.
What's that?
You said you had 7 points. So we talked about 1 or 2 now, and I will discuss the damage control. Make it a point that it's always discussed on when I participate on the Discord. And hey, I've taken heat. People are complaining about me because I recommended Marc Victor last week. And I tell people routinely, it is about damage control, because do you want to cut your teeth on a felony charge where you're looking at 5 to 10 years? I don't think most people want to do that. If you're an activist, Odin bless you, right? Great. Most people aren't doing that, though, unfortunately, So I will recommend and take all the stupid comments that people will lay down, because I recommend someone, not go, and have their first rodeo be a damn felony charge. Yeah.
Well, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, at least have a lawyer on standby, which is very difficult, because as soon as a lawyer, as you just said on your last show, this person wanted to hire a lawyer to advise her, and as soon as the lawyer put in his appearance notice, all of a sudden, boom, the court has jurisdiction.
Well, that's not what that's not what I was talking about. The court doesn't get jurisdiction over somebody when it otherwise lacks it because someone gets a lawyer. That is a patriot myth. We know that that's not true. It's absolutely false. I don't want to really spend too much time on that. But there were other details that I discussed as to he didn't want the attorney to represent him or even give him advice. He only asked the attorney to take script, the questions to do the deposition, so that he was able to use the deposition to get the divorce, and so that was what the issue was there. There are been issues where people got a lawyer, and after they got the lawyer, they absolutely refused to defend them in the manner in which they had spoken before the money was exchanged. So, but let's get to a couple of your other points.
Okay. Well, again, the points were, and we've kind of covered them, or a lot of them. Isn't damage control all we can expect? I mean, you've spoken about this for years. We can never win. It's only damage control that we can achieve.
Yeah, well, right. We're trying to limit the damage and also maybe influence people along the way so that other people will see what we're doing and say, hey, a layman's doing this just like me. I mean, this guy's he's a machinist. I'm a mechanic. I'm not but he was able to do it. So other people will throw their hat in the ring and fight them tooth and nail like we do, and cause the court to have, to actually have to expend more resources to be able to collect. Yes, make it. Yeah, so that's and then also so that we can post it online so other people who haven't seen it can do that. Maybe get more people to actually go into city council meetings also and challenge them there. Okay, it's not working out that well right now, but we're working on it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And I'm glad you said that because that is, anytime people come to ask me for help, role play, whatever, the first thing I ask them is, why are you doing this? Are you looking to, save some money, or are you looking to go into this thing, balls out, doesn't matter, activism, I'm ready to go to jail, I don't care? That's a very big question to ask anyone when they try this.
And it's a question that I used to use. Well, I used a different question. I was a little more blunt about it. I would say to people when they wanted to work with me, do a consult and whatnot, and I would say, because a lot of it is traffic, and I said, well, you might wind up paying me more than just paying the fine and walking away, and that was a way of weeding people out. So, is this a matter of principle? Because if it's a matter of principle, because you're right and they're dead wrong, then it's okay to spend a little more to defend this. Then because you're ultimately because you can't win. You're going to have to put some time and money and energy into it, into your defense. So if it is a matter of principle, you cannot win, but you can get the ticket thrown out and cost this, make the life, for them as difficult as you can, and maybe, influence some other people to join us.
Exactly. And my point with that is, when I do my damage control thing with folks that contact me, is exactly that. Let's walk away safe. Let's use as much time of the court as we can to keep the officer in the courtroom from attacking others on the street, and enlighten people, open some eyes. That's it. That's all we can do, and go home safe. And if everyone that we contact could at least do that, oh my God, the court system would be jammed up so badly, it would end. They would never make any more money, or very little.
No, we've said that, and they're, mainstream sources have said the same thing, when they start doing stories regarding just how many people plead guilty, that over 90% of all complaints are, result in a plea. And just if 10% of the people who, instead of entering a plea, fought like a caged animal, as hard as they could against these people, yes, they would not have the manpower to keep up with all the tickets the cops are giving out.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly the percentage I've used. 10%. If 10% of the people getting even traffic tickets would fight back, the courts would be so congested, this stuff would end. They wouldn't be able to continue. They wouldn't have the funds to continue.
They wouldn't have they wouldn't have the manpower to be able to do a trial for everybody, to be able to
right on.
If prosecutors and especially if you've got people like Larry Krasner who's running the office like in Philly, if they had to even half-assed comply with Brady and Discovery. If they, I don't think
on.
even 10% more. So let's say 15%. Let's say, so instead of 95% deals, only 80% of them go to a deal. I think it would. Sources independent of me have claimed, yes, if just 10%. That's why I'm throwing it out, because I've heard other people say that. And prosecutors, yes, it would be, that would be fantastic. Yes, it would grind to, it would, you know what it would do to the appellate process? You have to wait now years sometimes to get a decision in an appellate court. Could you imagine if 10% of the people went to trial and even half of them were appealed? They can't keep up with 5% convictions that are appealed. You know, what would happen if that doubled? You'd shut the Supreme Courts, the appellate courts would. There's no way they could keep up with it.
Exactly. Well, now I'd like to real quickly before, I know there's other people wanting to talk to you. Very quickly, I'd like to shift gears on my eighth question. My eighth topic is this, and it's your favorite enemy and mine too, Misty. She brought up something very, very important that so many bring up to me when I try to talk to them about no government. If a person is, swinging a sword around in a crowd, or as she said, speeding, well, let's not use speeding, but really being, regardless of safety of everyone else, driving down your street at 100 miles an hour on a 25 mile an hour zone, and your kids are out there, how do we prevent this? How do we stop this without attacking them, without doing, they haven't committed a crime yet? How do we address this?
Well, someone driving down the street, for one example, you could have, I don't know exactly how, like bollards, which are very common in streets in Europe. So you could have bollards. That's one example.
Well, okay, let's she's making a really good point. I hate her with all my heart.
Well, why are you waiting? Do we have to do this on the show? Do we even? All right, from now on, if we're going to discuss something, you don't have to use someone's username. You could just discuss the argument. Right. We can discuss the argument and not give any time. And that I have to get this foul taste in my mouth because I hear and I have to know who the source is.
I understand. But when this person makes good points, I need to address it because these are the same points I hear from others that I'm trying, like Dad, okay?
Okay, but like I said, we'll address the argument. We don't have to mention, because the name ultimately is not important, at least to me.
Fine, we're wasting time. Address it. How do you stop people? How do we, not stop, how do we address without government and without control over us, stopping someone from being an idiot swinging a sword around in a crowd? We know that's wrong. Somebody might get hurt. Nobody's been hurt yet. But do we wait till someone's head is chopped off, your own kid's head's chopped off, to address it?
Well, no, I don't think so, because we've spoken about this before. Is this going to be an unarmed society? Is this going to be a society where we don't have, let's say, still a commonly owned and paid for service like police protection? Because I imagine somebody swinging a sword, somebody could pull a gun. Other people could be armed and could neutralize that before something happens. I mean, you're talking about an unbelievably dangerous situation where obviously self-defense kicks in and is morally justified. If somebody is literally swinging a sword in public like that and won't listen to commands to stop, then you are fully justified in using self-defensive force to stop him.
Well, okay, I use an extreme, and I agree with you. Okay, but now the idea of a simple speeding. Okay, someone's driving in the right or left lane, and we're not Germany. Okay, people don't respect the left lane. Somebody might be passing by at 200 miles an hour. And now, somebody drives by, he's going 100 miles, 120 miles an hour, and some idiot pulls into that lane not looking. Who's at fault? And how do we address this? what is speeding? I'm trying to use a simple analogy that was brought up. I hate the term speeding because what the hell is speeding? But
you're going too fast. I think it's commonly understood. Any half idiot knows you're traveling, like even what the law itself says, that you're traveling at a speed that is not reasonable and prudent given the conditions. So sometimes, like now in Phoenix, it's no problem on I-10 to go 65 miles an hour. What if it's you're getting a torrential downpour? Is it still now reasonable, prudent to 65? No, it's not. So I think technology.
Okay. So how do we address it? Do we give him a ticket and make him responsible, or how, in a free society with no government, do we address that?
Well, I think for the immediate part, because I think I've spoken about this. I think we still would have commonly owned and community owned and paid for services like fire, like we have now. It's not going to be coerced. So I think the roads would operate in a similar manner. We're just not going to go to jail if we don't pay for it. So here, I think technology, as far as the immediate problem, which is what's the most important, what do you do in this immediate situation where someone is obviously going so fast he's endangering other people? Well, I think you can have technology, and you can have in the road, or you can have on the signpost. You can have electronics that could actually shut his car off. That technology exists. So it's very simple, I would imagine, that to be able to target that vehicle with an electrical pulse that would turn the engine off.
Wow. Now we're digging deep here, and the same thing goes for guns and blah, blah, blah. But all right, enough said, my friend. It's I've used a half hour of this very valuable short show, and I'd like you to hear some other folks. Thank you.
Before you go, before you go, did I answer your questions?
Yeah, we addressed it, and I understand, as you just said. Gary has said this a lot of times as well. On a residential street, if a kid's going down the street 100 miles an hour every day, and maybe we can make some curves, maybe we can make some speed bumps. We don't have to have a straight street. So yes, you have. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that call.
Good night.
Des, good night. Tom from the Big D. And I think what I mentioned before, he was on the show last week. He did some role playing. So I'm going to jump to Jackson. Come on.
I have.
There we go. Jackson, welcome back to the show. Do you have good news for me?
I have nothing as of yet. I have my court this Friday. I submitted the motion this past Friday.
Okay,
past Friday.
So you haven't gone to court yet?
Not as of yet.
All right. So Tom, I was mistaken. I thought Jackson would have already been to court, which is what we were doing the role playing last week. But thank goodness he's got time for another few hours of role playing before he goes to court on Friday. Okay. So what can I do for you today, my friend?
Well, I had a question. I noticed, in the motion to dismiss, I guess, inquires on discovery. I noticed on the Miami, on the court's website that it had discovery. Yes, that means they already did discovery or something like that.
They already provided you disclosure.
But it says yes on the website. It says discovery. Yes. What does that mean? Does that mean that they should already have it for me when I get there, or?
It sounds like they've already provided it to you. That's my my interpretation of that. Maybe it is that the prosecutor's office is maybe they have an open draw policy and they just open up. You just are able to come in and inspect and what they have, and then they charge you for what you want to make copies of. But to me, it sounds like their prosecution's claiming they've already given it to you.
Oh, okay. So that means it's just a ticket, because nothing has been given to me as of yet.
Looking at it from the prosecutor's point of view, that may be all they're using together with the police officer. So, and I would assume that that's probably all they're planning on bringing against you. Otherwise, what they typically like to do, depending on what they're charging you traffic-wise. Let's say it was a driver's license, let's say suspended. They would get a motor vehicle printout or record and have it stamped that your privileges were suspended, and then they would enter that as evidence against you over your objection, of course. But here, I don't know, what's the actual charge?
Speeding.
Well, was it by radar device, or was it the police officer just using his spidey senses to
radar device?
A radar device. You see, typically they have to bring in where they did the calibration, and they have the copies of the I don't know what the hell they call it. Just the book that the log book.
Case something. Yeah.
Well, they have to have a logbook where they're calibrating it, according to their regulations, on so many whatever, So they have, that's one of the things that they would bring in against you. So they wouldn't just be using the ticket. So if he used the radar gun, they'd have to bring in, that would be part of the discovery. So maybe, I can't say. It could be that they're just doing the typical thing where all we're going to give you is the ticket, and if you want anything else, you're going to have to file a motion. I don't think
discovery. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Well, within the discovery, it's still not jurisdiction. So, I'm just trying to make sure I'm prepared on, what if I hear this, hear that, how to follow up. Okay.
Well, when you go in on Friday, bear with me and other people that are new listening. Is this an arraignment on Friday? Is this the initial appearance?
When I spoke to, sorry. Yes, it's the initial appearance. Okay. It said trial online, but when I went in to speak about if there was going to be a prosecutor or just a bench judge, they advised me that there would be a bench judge.
It would be just a bench trial. Okay.
Yes.
So you're going to trial on Friday.
That's what they said. She told me it would be an arraignment.
It would be an arraignment, but after the arraignment, if it's not dismissed, you'll have a bench trial because it is just a speeding ticket. You're not in Michigan or some of these other places. Well, actually, Florida. Now, Florida, if you don't have a driver's license, they give you especially the second time. And you got to be fearful of that. You don't want to get a second charge, driver's license in Florida, because you're going to do some time if you're convicted. Okay. Well, have you filed a motion to dismiss and a discovery request? Have you filed those?
Yes, I submitted it this past Friday. I think it was the 18th. So it's 5 days before, 5 business days before.
And you're not asking. The motion to dismiss is very simple. It's based on lack of evidence to prove jurisdiction, personal and subject matter jurisdiction. The prosecution doesn't even have any facts that even rise to the level of prima facie. So there's no presumption of correctness that is created. And so I would stick with that. When they ask you how you plea, I would say objection. There's a motion to dismiss at play. Has the prosecution got sufficient facts to overcome the motion to dismiss? And you want to do the role playing to address the stupid things that they're going to say, which we covered some of it the last time. All right. Well,
yeah.
Okay.
I was just writing some of the stuff down.
Okay. So well, and for those who call in, you don't have to worry about writing so much down because it's all recorded. It's going to be available online anyway. So also the audio will be at markstevens.net. And I got to say something that I do edit I put a lot of time into editing the broadcast of the good audio and video, and I put graphics in. So you know what the hell I'm talking about. You can read it. So when I say that the witness, just like Jackson, this police officer, to be allowed to testify against you, the judges has the authority, the duty, the due process duty to determine whether the witness is competent to testify. That's the judge's job, to determine whether he is competent to testify. And so to be competent to testify, you have to have proof that the witness has personal knowledge of the matters that they are testifying to. So I'll have that in the video for Florida too. So don't say the video isn't edited at all. All the graphics are there. What the hell? So let me ask you, for the basics, are you pretty good with the basics of why we're going in?
I'm decent with the basics.
Okay.
Yes, I spoke to Pierce on the phone, and he shaved off some things to make it easier and for it to flow a little better for me.
Okay. And so you know the reason why we're asking just leading questions. You tell me, why do we want to focus on just leading questions?
Well, in order to show that it's not a fair and impartial trial or hearing, and to show that they are not able to produce evidence of jurisdiction.
Yeah, well, you can do that with non-leading questions also. Why is it important that we use leading questions? And also when we're just talking and arguing the motion to dismiss with the judge and prosecutor. I probably should have had a little more context there. Why do we just want to stick to asking leading questions?
Oh, because we're not an attorney. It's a yes or no to keep it simple.
That's true. However, we want to ask leading questions and not make affirmative statements, because if we make affirmative statements, then we take the burden on us to now have to prove that. So 100% of the time, we want to keep the burden of proof on the prosecutor where it belongs. Okay, now, knowing the basics really does help. And it also, I tell you, even for myself, doing this for so long, if you start having people harass you and make fun of you and mock you, which they will do when you go against the orthodoxy, you want to be able to establish who the burden of proof is on. Even the critics know that the prosecutor, the one making the allegation, has the burden of proof. So here it's a police officer, and the judge, the prosecutor, has to prove the police officer's claims are true beyond the reasonable doubt with evidence that you get to, and testimony that you get to challenge. And his claims are very simple, in a general sense, two parts. The laws apply to you and you violated them. Okay? And so knowing basic principles of logic, even knowing that in the legal realm, the accuser bears the burden of proof. The accuser bears the burden. We're not making this up. That's an essential part of due process and having a fair hearing, that the burden of proof is on the accuser, the one making the claim. And we're just attacking those two general claims that the prosecution's making, right? We're just attacking the claim that the laws apply and you violated them. That is what we're focusing our attention on. And when they mock us and they make fun, all they'll say is, we are stupid, or I'll just use myself. I'm an idiot because I'm attacking and expecting proof of the prosecution's claim that the laws apply, and I violated them. So if you understand, the logic, you can recognize the BS that will be coming from a critic or someone in court or a prosecutor. So if the prosecutor or the judge says, we don't have to prove that, you know what to say, right?
Yes. They say we don't have to prove it, or yes.
They don't have to. We're the almighty government. We don't have to prove that legal claim.
I have my red hands here.
When you want to say objection. Objection.
Point of clarification.
Or you don't even have to say that. You can just say, look, objection. Your position is the prosecution gets to argue against me without proof. Do I get the same courtesy?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yes. I'll be the first to admit to you You will never go to a law book and find a formal objection with a question like that. I'm not trying to put anything over on anybody. Is it something I made up? Yup. Has it been effective? Yep, absolutely. Because the objection is pointing out something that the judge is doing or the prosecutor is doing that is not fair. And that's how we're going to call it out. Because a lot of times, it's not a tag team where you've got the two lawyers going against the valiant defense counsel. Okay, you got the judge and the prosecutor going against the valiant defense counsel. Okay, it's usually not so obvious about the bias unless it's an IRS case. We can show documented proof when we have testimony, and I've seen it, and it's been reported on the show, and I've spoken to judges, I've spoken to prosecutors, I have them at markstevens.net. We know that they're covering for the prosecutor. So that's why we have to do what we have to do, things like that. We have to be unorthodox. We're pointing out it's unfair, and we're stopping the process by saying objection. And we're making the point by asking that question because it's effective. Not because I learned it in law school or because I didn't go. I've never been a lawyer, never pretend to be a lawyer. And it's not because some lawyer told me, Jack Pointer or Marc Victor or one of these other lawyers. Okay? It's because it cuts to the heart of the matter and exposes what is going on is not fair. So I don't care, and I don't think that we should care and say, but Mark, a lawyer didn't sign off on that. Abba fungul. You need to get dialogue on this. You need to make the objection, and you need to bring out that this is unfair. And how do we do that? This has proven to be an extremely effective leading question that they almost never leave hanging. They will definitely go and answer that question, and it brings out how unfair it is so that we can say, and it's not in a law book, it doesn't matter, we can say, isn't that unfair? Aren't you applying two different standards here, one to me and one to the prosecution? Because being unfair like that is a serious due process issue. You shouldn't have to worry. It's not orthodox. About fungul with the orthodoxy. We have to fight like a caged animal. We have to be rational and professional. Of course, I'm not saying yelling and screaming and threatening. But we have to attack. We have to collaterally attack these things. We made the objection and we asked that question to bring out that this is not fair. And we're not going to be... And look, I'll be the first to admit it. We should not be timid about it. I always temper that with we're rational and professional and we're courteous and we treat them the way we want to be treated. But we have to say objection and ask the question, are you allowing the prosecution to argue without evidence? Do I get the same courtesy? Can I make legal claims against the prosecution without proof? Man, they will come unglued. I've done it. Other people have done it. But that's not a question. That's on the bar exam. That was not taught in law school. Was the Twinkie defense... Let me ask you and everybody else listening. Was the Twinkie defense taught in law school? You probably got a better chance of the Chewbacca defense being in law school than the Twinkie defense. But it was still done. Incredibly stupid. It has no basis in reality, unlike what I'm doing. So, anyway, we got a line of calls. So, if I can address one more question, we could just get together tomorrow, this time, and we could do more role playing.
Yes, but of course. No, I appreciate it. That's the one question that I had.
Okay, cool.
Have a good night.
Right. Appreciate the call. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Here we've got area code 248. We got you here on the big show. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mark, this is Steve Lato, the attorney from Michigan. How are you?
Good. Hey, I got it right. 248. That is Michigan. So we got two.
That is me. You are correct, sir.
And you are a lawyer.
Yes, I am. And it's funny because I post videos on YouTube also, and a lot of people have said, you know, one of these days you've got to call into Marc Stevens, and you guys will have a lot to talk about. I don't know what they're getting at, but that's what they tell me.
Hey, you're a lawyer. You're practicing. You had a little run-in with someone. both know. I wouldn't say respect.
I specialize in lemon laws automobiles. I get a lot of questions, regarding driver's licenses and so on. And so I did a little story about Charlie Sprinkle, and I linked to some documents I found on the internet, and I got a really ugly comment from a lawyer who basically accused me of stealing stuff from him, even though I didn't find them on his website. And I did a search on his name, and the first thing that popped up was a video where you were criticizing him in the title of your video by name, and you were, I believe, the second or third relevant Google hit, which search engine optimization is something I study. Congratulations, sir. You've accomplished something there.
Well, I have to temper that with the guy really is a nobody. I mean, he's got less of a name than I do. So getting him to the first page of Google has probably more to do with my name than his. But, hey.
Probably, yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it. He's a vile, vile individual. And I only hope, I mean, it gives me a bad taste in my mouth over here that the guy's actually Sicilian, for heaven's sakes, you know? And I've got baptism records for the little town in Sicily my familia hail from. And it's not a common name in Sicily, but it's not an uncommon name. I mean, it's kind of marginal, you know, and it just, it would grate on me. I know that's a juvenile thing. I'll give him that. But to think that this guy is actually I can't even say he's a paisan, but I mean, technically, it's unfortunate. But you get crap in all ethnic areas, even my beloved Sicilians.
Yeah.
Well, so I don't know. It's up to you if you want to, how much you want.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Here's the thing. I've done quite a few videos about the driver's license debates that take place in America. I'm sure you've seen many of them at the roadside, where windows often get broken out of cars. And because I'm a lawyer, people ask me questions, and they say, Steve, study this and tell us the legal aspects of it. And so I've explained, for instance, that in my opinion, the Supreme Court's never directly ruled that you don't need a driver's license. And I have people say, oh, they have. And I say, okay, show me the case. And here's the thing. People have said, well, Steve, but if you talk to Marc Stevens, he's going to convince you you're wrong, or you guys have a big debate on, you're going to hate each other. And I said, no, I've studied your theories, and I respect your theories. And there's no reason that I've got to disagree with you, because I don't think you're the kind of person who's telling these people, make these crazy arguments at the roadside and tell a police officer to go look up the Articles of Confederation and cross-reference it with the Code of Hammurabi, and you'll discover that I've got the right to travel by, whatever conveyance I want. And you expect that the police officer is going to then say, oh, I'm sorry, I absolve you of all crimes. Continue on your way. And so, it's kind of funny. I think people, I actually had someone say to me today, I dare you to call Marc Stevens. And it's kind of funny. You sent me the note and said, hey, call me. So here I am.
Well, I'm glad you did. I like that. I like what you said. So in the video, I'll put the text there so it doesn't go by too fast. The Hammurabi, that was, that was a nice touch. That was a nice.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you this before we talk about right to travel stuff. As a practicing attorney, have you ever had an occasion where something is happening in court? It's gross. I mean, it just, your due process meter is breaking. Have you made an objection that was not necessarily something that you learned in law school, but it was appropriate for what was happening?
I haven't, and unfortunately, most judges are so good at couching what they do to make it look legal that everyone in the courtroom, especially the attorneys, are looking at each other going, oh, my God, I can't believe this is going down this way. But there's not much we can do about it because of the way it would be reflected in the record. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head that would be easy enough to convey here. But I've had situations where I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. No one would believe this is happening, but it happened. And crazy stuff happens in courts. And I'm an attorney. I'm not necessarily a defender of the system. And I'm not going to tell you that everything that happens in those, marble buildings is righteous. It's not. But, I'm a pragmatist, and I go in and I do what I can for my clients. But I'm obviously, I've been doing this for 27 years. I'm familiar with the process.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe we'll have you back on the show, and you can, when you have some more time to think about it, you can jot down some examples, because I'd love to hear that. And I do want to address, before I'm out of time here, the whole right to travel issue. I have been very adamant about this. I think we're on the same page here. Even if I agreed with those legal arguments for the right to travel, which I do not, the side of the road is not the place to do that. In fact, I told someone today who was doing this as an activist that if you're going to do it as an activist, drop the right to travel crap, because that's exactly what it is. I'm not a proponent of those arguments, and I have gone through great lengths to debunk that whenever it comes up. The thing to do on the side of the street is to identify yourself on a threat to arrest and coercion, which is exactly why you're doing it, and keep your mouth shut, right? You would agree with that, right? Oh, you got to be kidding me. Did we lose the lawyer? I did not cut Steve from the show. So if anyone's saying he does, I'm not friendly to lawyers, that's not true. So hopefully we're able to get Steve back.
Yeah.
You're still...
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm always amazed at how often someone will start yelling about the Fifth Amendment. Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, if people keep yelling about the Fifth Amendment, I can hear you.
Yeah, there's something going on with the connection, because I couldn't hear you for a while, Steve. Dang it. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to mute up, and maybe after the show I'll connect with Steve. But we're going to try to get one more call here in the last 5-6 minutes. Area code 518, you're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Mark. This is Kevin, and I'm calling from upstate New York.
Kevin from New York. What can I do for you today, my friend?
Hi. Yeah. I'm calling about a speeding ticket that I got. I had an arraignment already, and I used your motion to dismiss and also the discovery request. And, well, to say the least, things didn't go so good.
Okay. Did you have a trial, or did you have an arraignment?
I just had an arraignment so far.
All right. Well, okay. What happened?
And basically, I got there, and the judge hadn't read any of my motions or anything. So he basically read the motion to dismiss right there in front of me, and basically he got pretty angry.
Okay.
And
did he threaten you?
Well, sort of. He basically asked me if he wanted me to make the decision right there, and if I wanted to rest on the motion, and if I wanted him to make the decision right there. And so I basically told him that I didn't really understand what he was asking me, because I thought he was either, going to deny the motion or accept it. But he didn't do either. So,
did he plead
so he
not guilty? I'm sorry.
He asked me again, a second time, in a more in an angrier voice, and at that point I handed him the unsigned plea of guilty and said, "Well, I'll plead guilty if the prosecution can provide the evidence of jurisdiction." And then he just pushed the paper back at me and told the court clerk to set a trial date. I mean, he never asked me for a plea or anything.
He probably wrote in there that he was doing it for you, and I'm sure he had all he could take at that point from what you're saying. He's not an individual with the long fuse, and so he just wanted you out of there, right? I mean, did you leave soon after that?
I did.
Okay.
And I assume the gentleman standing next to me in the suit, he never said who that was. I assume it was a prosecutor. And the only thing that he ever said to him was, "Do you have anything to add at which point the guy said, nope. And so he didn't hold him to any, didn't ask him to provide any evidence or anything.
Well, he may be satisfied that he's already provided enough evidence, but the guy was kind of angry and didn't want to discuss the issue with you, so there's not too much you can do there. It may be a situation.
Right.
It may be a situation where they're going to have to put the cop on the stand and then deny you cross-examination so that you have a chance of getting that thrown out there for a denial of cross, or it's something that would have to be appealed and have it thrown out for denial of cross there. Because they're not going to allow any questions regarding the police officers' legal claims against you that the laws apply and you violated them. And
right.
They're not going to allow that. And for those new, whether you violated the law or not and what facts show you violated the law are not relevant and admissible until they prove they applied to you in the first place. And I don't buy, and we're just rational people, we just don't accept that the prosecution can argue the foundation of their case and not have any evidence to prove that that's true. So I wish I had more time, but we are going to be doing the role-playing tomorrow, Kevin. So if you contact me on Skype at FrankRizzo3, we can bring you in there, and you and Jackson are still pretty new, and so you guys can participate in that and be a bit more prepared for when you do go into trial. And I would check the docket to make, if you can check online.
Can I also add that in the meantime, after that, I made a complaint to the Judicial Review Board or whatever it's called for New York. And later I just recently received, they rescheduled my trial date. And apparently it's with a different judge now. There's only 2 part-time judges in this little village where I got the speeding ticket.
Okay.
So
I
don't know if the other judge recused himself or.
It's common for the Raymond judge in traffic not to be the judge. It's just like it's common for the prosecutor, for a different prosecutor to be there, every step of the way, even on a more serious charge. What I was going to say before I let you go is look online or call down there if you have to and find out if there was a ruling on that motion to dismiss.
Okay, I will do that.
And if there's been a ruling on it, it probably is one word, denied. Let me know, and I can send you a template for a motion to reconsider that.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Okay, appreciate the call. Remember, contact me at FrankRizzo3 on Skype for tomorrow, same time as this broadcast today, 4 to 5 Mountain Standard Time. And we'll work more with you with the role-playing, okay?
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Appreciate the call. Kevin in New York. I know that, and now, since I mentioned it, Steve, who was on, we'll have to get him on again. I wasn't thinking of your last name. Lido. Sicilian? Paisan, maybe? I know Lido is a Sicilian name, or at least an Italian name. But I did see you mention you have a degree in history. So you don't just have a law degree, you have a degree in history. And if so, we got to have you back on the show. Definitely. I'm totally out of time. I'm really sorry. That we're out of time. We will be doing a role-playing tomorrow. As I mentioned, same time as this show, 4 to 5 Mountain Standard Time. Please, even if you don't want to participate, you just want to listen in, contact me at FrankRizzo3, and we can get you the new Discord link, and then you can come in and you can participate that way. So we should have Jackson and Kevin both in there tomorrow. And that is usually recorded. Maybe I'll get a recording and start posting that there myself. We'll see. But this has been episode 96 of the No State Project here on my YouTube channel, No State Project. If you're not subbed, get subbed so you don't miss any of the live broadcasts. Because, hey, maybe we'll do the Discord tomorrow. We'll broadcast that, but we'll see. I will definitely be live for the Saturday broadcast. Hopefully there's no tech issue there, because the last time it was all pre-recorded, so it wasn't really an issue. But, somebody's asking, is JT okay? Do you anticipate his return to the big show? Great show, thanks. Hey, I appreciate that. JT is fine, but JT has a real life that he's not usually available to do a live broadcast. So one of these days, maybe when I'm out of town, not this weekend, the weekend after, for that broadcast, maybe we can get JT for an hour or so if his schedule allows it, but he is okay. He is good. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Again, my name is Marc Stevens. The website is marcstevens.net. And till next time, salud.